Welcome to the Inside Edge Network and welcome to the voice of the land. Boy, oh boy, I wish I was still talking basketball, but yeah, we still got to talk basketball anyways, just not in the way that we thought 1 week later after discussing the Eastern Conference Finals, what happened, what will happen, what has happened, and what will happen. What do we expect to see this offseason with this team? We will talk about that. Guardians playing pretty well. I do want to get into Rye. I don't know if you saw, but the NBA did bring out some anti-tanking regulations. The Board of Governors did brought out some anti-tanking procedures going into effect next year in terms of draft and ability to get the number one pick. And then we'll see where we go from there.
Yeah, I haven't actually heard that, so I'm interested to hear about that.
So we will talk about that. We got plenty to get into. I'm sure we could throw some Browns in there somewhere or some Buckeyes. I heard from Julian. I saw Julian Sayin talking to people this week. That dude says literally nothing. He has like the shortest answers I've ever heard. But we can talk about Ohio State football as well. If we really want to have a good football conversation, it's better to throw Ohio State in there. Again, this is the Voice of the Land. I'm Kevin Arnold. He is Ryan Mosser. This is the Inside Edge Network. And we are presented by here on the Voice of the Land by the great people at Greeny Sports Cards. GreenySportsCards.com. I know that they go all over the country for sports card shows. They have stuff here locally all the time. They do things monthly at the Kirtland Senior Center out there in Kirtland, Ohio, here in Lake County where I live. And they are just the best people to do that. They're live every Tuesday on social media. So make sure to follow them, Greeny Sports, or I think it's Greeny Cards, if I'm not mistaken, on socials. Yeah. But you go to their website, greenysportscards.com. They got links to all their socials. They're on there. They're doing live eBay, like bidding and things like that. They bring on guests to talk about, cards, but also like other sports athletes. I know I saw like friend of show, Katie Moon, on there, the pole vaulter from Olmsted Falls, the Olympic champion.
Yes.
Pole vaulter. I know that she is now, she, after the last one, she has the silver medal. So that's kind of like the,
you can't take away the gold though. So
nope, can never take away the gold. So she is an Olympic champion, represents this city well. So that's just some of the examples. Like it's not just straight to the regular sports. And I know with the World Cup coming up, they're running plenty of stuff around that. Do want to touch a little bit on that before we close out today, Rye. As we get closer, U.S. just announced their team, and maybe some help from our friends and our partner over there at Fanatics, because there's one of the jerseys that I would really kind of like, but I don't know if I can buy it just yet. But World Cup is on the horizon, and you already know the person that's going to be covering that. One of the people covering on the Inside Edge Network. I don't know Double A's plans, Rye. I don't know if he got anything for the World Cup.
He mentioned a few things. Yeah. I definitely threw your name in the ring there. I think Omar, I forget his position, but he's going to be talking about it. I think David was interested, maybe.
We'll talk about it here. Yeah, I'll educate you and our audience.
I need help. Educate me, Kevin. As some of you may know, some of you may not know, Kevin is the voice of the Cleveland Crunch. He is immersed into local soccer, and of course, obviously with the World Cup being in the United States, he's going to be down to the second ready to talk about World Cup. So I'm really excited for you to educate me, man. I'm excited. So.
Yeah, it's I know that there's going to be talk, and we'll have to talk about how things are going from a strategical standpoint, logistical standpoint. People like getting to these stadiums, being able to get tickets. There's already like lawsuits or subpoenas on FIFA because of the ticket prices and the way they went up. And they weren't expecting to, like in New York and New Jersey for MetLife Stadium. I think that's where the final is supposed to be, if I'm not mistaken. It's either there or SoFi out in LA. So there's going to be a lot that goes on. I just hope, our country represent the right way. And we will have a lot of fun. We start though with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Their season has come to an end. Kobe Altman will meet with the media tomorrow, I think. I'm hearing that he will meet with his post-season presser. Is after the season is over, presser like every GM. Well, I guess he's not the GM. He is what they call POBO, President of Basketball Operations. Mike Gansey seems like he could be headed to Philadelphia, so we might need a new GM. Let's all face like people are going to freak out when that officially comes down. I'm telling you right now, I'm not going to freak out because the person making those decisions is Kobe Altman. Just like Andrew Barry is doing that for the Browns. And I believe even though he's only the president, he's more the president, not the GM. Chris Antonetti is still leading most of those decisions. I'm not going to love Mike Gansey. I know Mike Gansey knows a lot of basketball, but that's not going to be the thing to freak out about. Some people are freaking out though, Ryan.
Okay.
Kenny Atkinson, still the coach. How do you feel?
I like it, honestly. I think I think continuity. I mean, I've been talking about the window that we have, and I feel like it's just getting shorter and shorter now. He's with Donovan Mitchell, and now James Harden looking to possibly come here or stay here for the next 2 years. But yeah, I don't know. I think the decision to keep Kenny Atkinson, at least for next year, says a lot about where the Cavs believe they are as a franchise. It tells you that they're not necessarily panicking. I think they're not overreacting. To the embarrassing sweep for the Knicks, but it tells you that they believe in the foundation that they built, and that it's strong enough to withstand a brutal ending to an otherwise successful season. I would say a lot of fans wanted a scapegoat, and I get it. I've been there. I mean, look at me yelling for Andrew Barry and Kevin Stefanski's job for the last 5 years. A lot of people just wanted someone to blame. But the organization chose stability over chaos, and I think that was absolutely the right move. Kenny wasn't perfect by any means. Nobody is pretending that he is. Obviously, there were moments in the playoffs where adjustments came too late, where rotations felt rigid, and where the team looked, I think, overwhelmed by the moment a little bit. But I think you don't judge a coach, solely by his worst week. You judge him by the totality of his work for the entire season. And, when you look at the full picture, Atkinson delivered one of the most successful seasons the Cavs have had, in the post-LeBron era. He guided this team to the Eastern Conference Finals, something the franchise hasn't done without LeBron since, I think, 1992. He manages, all the egos, especially, new ones coming in the middle of the season, and James Harden. He managed the injuries, consistent lineup changes. He integrated James Harden mid-season, reshaped, the offense on the fly, and still found a way to, win 2 Game 7s in the playoffs. That doesn't happen by accident. That doesn't happen, I think, with a coach who's in it over his head. I think that happens with, when a coach has a real command of his locker room and a real understanding of how, to get most out of his roster. I like it, especially when the uncertainty of what's going to happen next, the possibility of more stars coming, more trades, moves, we don't know. I like continuity. I'm relatively happy that he's here. So
it's funny, Rye, how you list all that out in favor of Kenny Atkinson, and rightfully so. And just a few words can destroy all of that.
Sure.
At least in the eyes of public opinion, in the court of public opinion. And it was pretty asinine and ridiculous when he said, we're leading this before Game 4. He said, we've actually won 2 of these 3 games analytically.
Yeah, that's stupid. That was the one dumb thing he did recently, I think. What was that?
It was that, and then even the before Game 3 saying we have data that you guys don't have, and then it turns out that's the data that we don't have, expected win or expected total of the game, whatever analytics that they were using. Look at Jared Allen. He's still not going to be able to get rid of the lights were too bright comment. Those are gonna stick with you, and they're gonna stick with Kenny Atkinson. Yeah. Now, I will say I wasn't thrilled that they made that decision, but I understood it.
Sure.
And I think everybody else has got to understand it. You can be upset, that's totally fine. But I think one thing that I never heard mentioned, at least in conversation about this, I'm not trying to defend the move either. You do like it. You like the continuity. I have to be honest. I don't really like that they kept him. And it's beyond just those comments, because like when I'm watching the game of basketball, like I'm going, like my mind is going deep in the X's and O's and what I'm seeing and all of this. And, James Harden, him being back, like, oh, like there's no way you can bring him back. Well, like you don't really have an option because he has the player option on his thing. And I know that there's some weird language with it, all of that. I don't know contracts. I'm not trying to dive into contracts. I'm only going to give you what I know.
Sure.
So what I know is what Donovan Mitchell said after the game. When there was conversations about whether JB was going to be let go or not, I didn't really hear Donovan give, a glowing comment. And we all kind of, that didn't stem the tide on people reporting that Donovan Mitchell did not like JB Bickerstaff. Like they didn't really get along. And there were issues there. Now, how to what extent, I don't know. Like they embraced after the Pistons series. Like didn't seem like there was too much love lost or anything like that. But there was definitely a fracture in the relationship from a basketball standpoint. If you listen to him after Game 4, when he's asked the question, I know he was asked the question, but he still went to the point of, I love Kenny Atkinson. We love Kenny Atkinson. We ride or, it wasn't an exact quote of saying ride or die, but the tone made it sound like we ride or die with Kenny Atkinson.
Yeah.
And he made mistakes, but we all did. And he admitted we put ourselves in this position to be exhausted out there on the court and lost all energy after giving up that 22-point lead, which was absolutely inexcusable in Game 1. We were exhausted after having to go to Game 7 in 2 series. Not because that's not an excuse. We were exhausted because we didn't finish the series the way we were supposed to finish those out and give ourselves an extra break. If you would have finished in Game 6, you would have used that energy we saw in Game 7 with your home crowd in Game 6 against the Pistons. Guess what? Between Game 2 and Game 3, there would have been an extended break. Between Game 2 and Game 3, instead of continuing from April 25th until the end of the season, playing every other day for however many days, almost a month long of time. Well, it was a month because it was May 25th was Game 4 on Memorial Day. That was the issue. So Donovan being so open about his praise for Kenny Atkinson, and whether you think he's the number one guy or not, Ryan, the team pays him, and they will probably offer him an extension like he is the number one guy on this team. And when the number one guy on your team, just like we saw when LeBron was here, when the number one guy on your team is saying good things about your coach, you're not going to pull the trigger. And they probably already decided he was coming back next year. And they kind of had save face with him, even though we didn't see that coming. And I'm interested to hear how Cody Altman puts that last series into perspective tomorrow.
Yeah. And I think that's, what you're talking about with Mitchell, publicly backing, Kenny Atkinson. I think that's the main part that people overlook. Mitchell publicly backed him. Harden backed him publicly. Those are the stars of this team. The guys who actually determine your ceiling trust Kenny Atkinson. When your best players are aligned with your head coach, and you don't blow that up because of one bad series. You just don't. You don't fire a coach who just led you to the conference finals unless you're absolutely certain the next coach is better. And right now, there's no guarantee of that. There's also the reality of the Cavs timeline. Like I said, this is not a team with 5 years to figure things out. This is a team with a very, very small window to chase a championship. Mitchell's contract situation is obviously looming. Harden is nearing the end of his career. LeBron could be in play. Everyone's talking about that. Giannis could be in play. Every direction the Cavs make has to be about maximizing the next 2 to 3 seasons. And the last thing you want to do in a short window is hit the reset button on your coaching staff. A new coach means, a new system. A new system means a new learning curve. Learning curves means extra wasted time. And wasted time is one thing that this franchise cannot afford. Kenny gives the Cavs continuity. He gives them structure. He gives them a system that the players already understand. And he gives, the front office a stable platform to build on as they explore massive offseason swings, which we all are expecting. So, I think it's the right move. I just I don't even think it was not only the right move. I think it was the smart move. He's keep continuity, keep it consistent. It was a move of a franchise I think that believes that it's closer to a championship than the outside world realizes. And they were a top 4 team in the NFL or NBA in 2026. So.
And again, I'm not saying that people have to like it.
Sure.
I'm talking to people that were utterly shocked and dismayed that they made that decision. Again,
they wanted a scapegoat. So, and I get it. I get it.
Right. And okay, but we were also doing this with JB Bickerstaff. So when I think someone called into one of our shows on the other station and they said something like I know you guys are talking down on Kenny Atkinson and want him fired and stuff I know you guys are talking down on the players, but Kenny's the reason. We can't just avoid accountability for players, for professional athletes. I'm just too often that's what happens. Now, coaches get themselves fired. That is what it is. Was Kenny Atkinson part of the problem? Absolutely. Can he be part of the solution? I think he can be. But it's not just the coach. I think there was, I'm trying to remember the exact quote, but it was, when Dabo Swinney and Clemson were really rolling, and there was a game where they beat a rival or had a big night game, and he goes up to the reporters, asked him a question, and he says, "We can give you." Can't even remember what he said. We can give you basically stipends and whatever they could give student athletes at that time. We can give you this, we can give you that, we can give you that, but we can't give you heart.
Yep.
A coach cannot give you heart. He can hold you accountable and get your rear ends in gear, but you got to have it in here, in your heart. You got to have that passion, that drive, that will to not let someone and a team just dismantle you, embarrass you. You embarrassed our city by the way that you played, especially starting with giving up that 22-point lead and from there on out. Basically laying down. I know saying a team quit is very hard to do and is very, very damning accusation against professional athletes that, we make it out to be all they want is their money. They don't actually want to win. But you made the way you presented yourselves, you made it look like you quit. And you put yourself in a position where you had no legs to shoot. You had no legs to stay in front on defense. Nothing, you're not getting anything from your bench. Again, Kenny, could he have had different rotations? Could he have gotten different speeches to these guys or whatever? Sure. But if you don't have it, that's the biggest problem. If you don't have it in here, in your heart, that you're gonna do whatever it takes to win and win at the highest level, you're not going to get to that mountaintop. It's just not going to happen. I'm sorry to tell you. So what is next for this team? Where do they go? If they make changes to this roster, right? I don't know who it is. I don't know who I want. Would I want LeBron back? Sure, I could bust out all the now 14 jerseys I have back here in this closet behind me. Sure, I could do all that. I could, I'm always wearing my LeBron shoes, but I'll wear them even more often than I do already. Sure, that's all well and good. But what I need somebody or players that, have, I would say a Max Strus or a Josh Hart. I need Josh Harts on this team. And Max Strus can be that, but Josh Hart gives you a little more offensive punch, a little more consistent offensive punch than Max Strus does. He's a very streaky shooter. I need that dog. I need more dogs, and I need dogs that can get other guys to find their inner dog because it's in there. If you really are competitive and you're an athlete, it's in there. If it's not, you're going to be shipped out, and this team is going to figure that out.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of shoes and jerseys, you want to talk about Fanatics real quick?
Sure. Let's talk about Fanatics.
Do it.
Fanatics isn't just our name, it's who we are. Loyal, passionate fans dedicated to our favorite teams and to the sports we love. That's why we're honored to be able to offer fans the world's largest collection of official sports apparel and sports jerseys from all leagues, teams, and players you love. We feature a wide selection of gear from every league, including the NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL, and NCAA merchandise, which allows us to serve fans of football, baseball, hockey, basketball, lacrosse, soccer, golf, and, well, everything else that gets your heart pumping. Go to fanatics.com by using the QR code on your screen right now to celebrate your teams. That's fanatics.com, a proud sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader. Discover our collection of handcrafted candles. That's right, every product is thoughtfully created in small batches free from harmful toxins for mindful everyday indulgence. Our candles are hand-poured in coconut soy wax with natural wood wicks, offering a long-lasting burn and rich fragrances. Create a cozy, safe ambiance for your home with candles from Alley Rose Fragrances. First-time customers use the promo code InsideEdge20 to receive 20% off your order. AlleyRoseFragrances.com, proud sponsor of the Inside Edge Podcast Network.
Yeah, and Alley Rose Fragrances, Fanatics proud partners with us here at the Inside Edge Network. This is the Voice of Land. I'm Kevin Arnold. He is Ryan Mosser. We've been talking Cavs. I want to get your take real quick, Ryan, what you want to see next in this Cavs team. Before you do that, I'd love to know if we got. I love the deal with Alley Rose. I'd love to know if we got a deal with Fanatics because the away, and they call it kits, not jerseys, not uniforms. They call them kits in soccer, in football. The away, what's considered the away kit, if you're considered the away team at these, neutral sites. But I mean, you're on U.S. They're going to be playing on U.S. soil, so like it's not even neutral, and they're never away. But the away kit is chef's kiss, and like I wish I could get my hands on one of those jerseys and rep it the entire World Cup, man, because it is like I've been disappointed in some of the kits in the past with Nike. I do like the home one with the stripes. Just find it. The only part that's weird, and if you don't get one with a player's name on the back with the number, like there's this like wide open, like there's just like this white U-shaped area.
Okay.
Like that's like it's like cut out basically. The stripes are cut out so that you could put in the name and the number on the back plate. Just when you don't. If you just want a generic jersey, like it just doesn't. Right. Like you could have done like a generic jersey and just filled the space, like with the just do striping all the way around. Then that would have been perfect. Like you don't need if it's not one for a player, you're not repping a player. You could have just put the stripes all the way around, and then it would have been both of them would have been.
But this one is perfect. You're saying so.
Like I don't know. Like it just speaks to me. Other people don't like it. I've seen like reviews on the jerseys that like I don't know if they're put together well, like those types of things, but like
aesthetically they're quite pleasing.
and we all know people are, they say things, but who knows how they're treating the actual product too. You just get it, you just rip the tag and oh my gosh, I ripped a hole in it. Well, guess what? Use scissors to cut the tag off, man. Like I don't know. It's a thin, moisture-wicking jersey. I don't know what to tell you. Like it's not got a lot of material with it. It's going to be hot this summer. They're trying to mimic what the players are wearing. But Fanatics is a great place to go for that. They got a lot of World Cup stuff. I was looking at that today, so make sure to check out Fanatics for sure and Alley Rose Fragrances. We are big candle people here, so I'm sure we will be checking them out as well in the Arnold household. But again, going
real
back
quick before we move on, I have a question for you about this season.
Yes.
Would you consider this season a success for the Cavs or a disappointment?
No.
Interesting. No. Why?
And I never see. Here's the thing, and people won't believe me. And I don't like. Okay, if you get a reaction on social media, whatever, for something that you say, whether it's good or it's bad, like you're getting a reaction. It's the WWE. It's the pro wrestling world thing. Like. Okay, like I'm doing something right in this business because I'm getting reaction.
Sure.
Do I want people to like be coming at me and hating on me and stuff? No, like I'm not that type of person. Like I'm not a heel. I'm straight babyface. I'm straight good guy. Like, sometimes some of those comments hurt. Like they hit a little harder even though they're not supposed to. But I do know that, being, working where I work, there was a lot of people that said I consider this a successful season before the Eastern Conference Finals started because that's where they got to. I never said that because with the most expensive roster in all of the NBA and the move that you made to get rid of Darius Garland, every time I bring up I wasn't a fan of the trade, people think, oh, well, Darius Garland wouldn't have been hurt. You wouldn't have been here. No, I was okay with breaking up the core four. It's not okay with breaking up the core four for who you brought in, and that reared its ugly head in this playoff run.
Ooh, Kevin, we can talk today, buddy.
Talk about what?
Because I disagree, but we'll just continue. We'll continue with this first.
So I think with more time together, I think that you can see more out of what we may have hoped for between Donovan and James Harden, what James Harden can bring, and he might need to do some soul searching this summer for what point of career he's at. Not everybody is LeBron James.
Right.
Not everybody can even at 41 still have games where he looks like the best player on the court. Father Time is undefeated for a reason. So, James needs to kind of realize where he needs to what he needs to do more of, what he needs to do less of, all those types of things. But I never said it was a successful season because I held this team in higher standards. And when you got basically gentlemen swept 2 straight years in the second round, which was unacceptable, you couldn't just take a baby step for me this year to get out of the second round and make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. I needed more. And even if you didn't make it to the finals, I needed a series that back and forth. And it's just at the end, just tip your cap, they make the last play. Okay. Those types of moments. That embarrassment just piles on more to me not thinking it's a successful season because you were too happy to get there and you didn't give yourself a chance, an opportunity to allow yourself to give your best effort. And even whatever best level you were at in that series, don't think you ever got to that point.
Interesting. See, for me, I think the standard was clear and the Cavs met it. For 2 straight years, I said the same things. Get out of the second round, or the season's a failure. It was at points we were pulling out our hair. And this year they did that. They reached the Eastern Conference Finals. And personally, I'm not going to move the goalpost now just because the ending hurt. The sweep absolutely hurts, of course, but I think the journey matters for sure. 2 things can be true at the same time. The ending was absolutely gut wrenching, like you said, but I do think that the season was a success. Both statements are real, and I think both of them matter. You don't erase the progress because the final chapter was ugly. And I think one point here, I think that I'm not saying you in general for Cleveland fans. I think that Cavs fans are spoiled, and I think that's because of the LeBron effect. I think the LeBron era changed the psychology of this fan base. It rewired expectations. It made finals or bust feel normal. But the reality is, reaching the Eastern Conference Finals without LeBron is a massive accomplishment for this organization. Like I said, it hasn't happened since 1992. A year, we were both 1 year old, dude. Most cities would throw a parade for that. Of course, we're not that city, but Cleveland shrugs.
You threw a parade for 16. So.
Yeah, that's different. That's facetious. But Cleveland shrugs because we've been conditioned to expect greatness. I don't think it's disappointment. I think it's a little bit of us being spoiled. Being a top 4 team in the NBA is not a failure. There are only 30 teams in this league. Only 4 make the conference finals, and Cleveland was one of them. As disheartening as the way we left the playoffs and how it happened, it's still not a reason to blow it up, and it's still not a reason. I don't know. I'm not going to move the goalpost. I've said, make it past round 2. I'm so tired of not making it to the finals. Or Eastern Conference Finals, and they made it. So, for me, it was an unfortunate ending to a successful season for the Cavs.
So I'm also going to say that I'm not moving the goalpost.
Sure.
But I understand who you're talking to. There are a lot of people that move the goalpost, and the spoiled comment makes sense for Cleveland fans because, we got there, and everybody's saying this is the goal, get to the Eastern Conference Finals. Well, now we're gonna move the goalpost. Recency bias is a real thing, and it's cloud your judgment.
Absolutely.
I fully understand what you're saying. Like, they did take that next step, and there's stuff to actually build on, and you're not like, you didn't plateau like you did last year and like get stuck at the same point like a hamster on the wheel, just spinning and spinning and spinning. So like, there was movement forward. I'm telling you right now, my goalpost was making it to the finals, knowing what the Eastern Conference looked like coming into the year.
Makes
and
sense.
The talent and the amount paid for this team. And even when you made the trade for James Harden, you told me that you had the same aspirations and you didn't think you could get to that point with Darius Garland and you needed somebody else. You make that trade telling me that is you wanted to get to the NBA finals.
Okay, so was that trade, in your opinion, was that trade worth it then? Sounds like no, right? Could I be wrong?
No.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, in this business, you got to have a take on one side of the fence or the other, but like, I'm
Right.
not that person.
Right.
So like, really, like,
and you're a huge Darius Garland fan as well, so
yeah, I'm a huge Darius Garland fan, but I also knew that it had to be broken up, and he wasn't even available for the Clippers the whole time that he was there, and couldn't even play like the first time that James Harden played for us. So like, I understood all of that. Like, I will follow Darius Garland. I love Darius Garland. I love DG, the PG, all of that type of thing. But like, I'm not like, my gosh, we didn't get to where we wanted to. You got rid of Darius Garland. This is so stupid. I'm saying that it wasn't. I'm saying no, but more so, I'm saying incomplete, because I know we're getting, at least to start next year, we're getting another chance with James Harden to start from the beginning, instead, like, as teams are all at the same level. He was in mid-season form when he got traded as a basketball player, but he was in preseason form when he got here as a Cleveland Cavalier. So like, I need to see more. But right now, I say no, because the most frustrations I had during a lot of these games in the playoffs were with James Harden, and he'd start to play pretty well and move the ball and all that stuff, and then fall right back into that stanky leg offense that I absolutely disdain. And maybe that's just me overreacting because I hate stanky leg offense so much. But yeah, like, it hasn't paid out the way that we wanted it to yet. I cannot say it's worth it yet. I cannot put those words together besides to say, like, I can't do it.
Yeah. Okay. I disagree. I think that it was a success, but I think that Darius Garland is talented. Obviously, no one disputes that. But the version of Garland the Cavs needed, the healthy, aggressive, take over the moment version, rarely showed up. When the lights were the brightest. Injuries obviously kept interrupting his rhythm. His size limited his defensive impact. And when the playoff arrives, he struggled to dictate the game. The way that a lead guard has to in May and June. I think Harden, even at, what is he, 37 years old, brought something that Darius Garland never, consistently provided, which was control. I think he slowed down the game when it needed to be slowed. He organized the offense when, things got chaotic. He created many shots for others without needing to dominate the ball. We saw Evan Mobley hopefully look like he finally has a 3 now. He gave Donovan Mitchell a partner who could actually share the creation load. I think that alone changed the entire identity of the team. I think that Harden made Donovan Mitchell better, and Garland necessarily didn't in a lot of ways. And I'm not saying that Harden's flaws are not real. They are, but I think they're manageable. He gets, hunted defensively. He's older. He's not the MVP version of himself anymore, obviously, but his weaknesses are predictable and relatively, I don't know if there's a word, game planable. You can game plan around his weaknesses. Garland's were unpredictable and availability based at most. You can scheme around Harden's defense. You cannot scheme around a player who is consistently injured or inconsistent. Garland's upside to this point, Cavs fans might not want to hear this, but is relatively theoretical compared to Harden's, that his impact is proven. And yeah, with that positive impact, there's just as many negative impacts, like, his turnovers and other things like that. But, I'll take the certainty over the uncertainty any day, especially, like I said, when this window is so small. It's so small. And I love Darius Garland. Of course, logically, I would want this younger guy who has potential. But in the window that we have now, I just, like you said, for the right guy, Garland had to go. You're just saying you don't think he was the right guy in Harden.
I'm saying I don't know that it was the right guy.
And
I'm not saying I think that they would have done the same or better with Garland on this team. I'm not saying that. I know that Garland we probably would have gone out against Toronto in that series because we wouldn't have had that other guard to, kind of manipulate the ball and get us into offensive rhythm at times. I totally get that. I feel like Garland I'm setting him totally aside in this conversation. I know why they traded Garland and what they were trying to get back. Sure. And they didn't get that through this time around.
I mean, the one thing was getting past the second round of the playoffs. We made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, something they haven't done, again, for the third time I said, since 92. It's been that long. It's been 34 years since they've done it without LeBron James. That's something to be proud of. I mean, Darius Garland, as good as he is or not, or unreliable, however you want to put it, he did not get us there with this team. James Harden did. That's why I think right now that's proof of concept that this trade is actually already, is paid in full personally. And getting the extra year or possibility of 2 years added on is just icing on the cake. And like you said, with him early in the season next year, hopefully there's that chemistry, the continuity, just the ability to practice together and just grow together instead of just being thrown in there for, 10 straight games with only 2 practices. I mean, I don't know. Well, there's a lot hanging on the future of this team, but I'm excited to see what happens, man, this offseason.
Yeah, so. I'm just saying that, playoff Harden, where everybody just like the comments for Jared Allen are going to follow him forever. I don't think he'll ever get rid of those. And the comment that Kenny made before Game 4 now is going to stick with him, and people are going to bring that up every time there's a loss next season for this Cleveland Cavaliers team. Playoff Harden, he did nothing to dispel that cloud that is following him. And, again, I think more can be gotten out of him and good things can happen. Again, we definitely need to make some changes, and serious conversations about certain players are going to have to be made. But, it's, I don't know. Soul searching for Harden, I think, is going to be something he needs, and some real conversations between him and Don. And the East is coming back next year. Yeah, the East is coming back next year, and if you still want to be at that same point, get to that same point and beyond, and get this taste of embarrassment out of your mouth from getting swept by the Knicks, then lock in for sure, and we'll see what they do. I'm not ready to people are all down on next season already. Give it time. It's the off season. We give the Browns time in the off season, and every little thing they do, we absolutely love. Allow the off season and Kobe Altman and Dan Gilbert, what Dan Gilbert wants, he's going to get. So just let it play out and see what they're able to do. Takes 2 to tango, though. Don't just automatically think we're getting Giannis. Takes 2 to tango. Just remember that. We can try, but there, you got to connect on the other line. Just like in grown-ups when they got those phones, the cup phones. Finally go back to the old school with the cup phones. You ever seen grown-ups?
Yeah.
Yeah, the cup phones between rooms and stuff. There was always someone on the other side of that. There's got to be someone on the other side to make these moves. Before we hit another break, right, I do want to get your thoughts on this. NBA Board of Governors approving anti-tanking regulations. Basically, let me bring up Shams Charania, senior NBA insider for ESPN. Of course, some people call him the new Woj, but like he was his own.
Around.
He was his own Woj before going to ESPN. I think he was at Yahoo and places like that. I think he was doing stuff like that. But let me bring up the exact details on this because I want to read it as verbatim as possible. So earlier, about 3 hours ago, he says, breaking, the NBA's Board of Governors has passed new anti-tanking rules that include expanding the draft lottery from 14 to 16 teams, a relegation zone. Soccer fans out there, football fans out there, you've heard relegation. This isn't the same kind of relegation, but this is the American version of it. So the bottom 3 teams in European football, in soccer, in a lot of the leagues, Premier League, all of the different tiers of English football, Italian, like in each country, if you are playing club sports, like for a football club, if you are in the bottom 3 of your league, you get dropped down to the next the next tier. So like there's Premier League, but then there's the Championship, there's League One, there's League Two, like going down the list. Like if you don't get in that top 17 in the Premier League, if you're one of 18, 19, or 20, guess what? You're losing a bunch of money. You're going down, like for being so bad, you got to try to earn your way back up to the Premier League by playing the Championship, which is the tier below. And that is a big loss for a lot of these clubs that bring in a lot of money. Here, it's the bottom 3 teams get penalized with lessened chances for the number 1 pick. So usually the worst team has the best odds. I know that they've kind of adjusted that as time has gone. So it's the gap isn't as wide between 1 and 2 and 2 and 3 and so on and so forth. But he also adds that two more tweets here as he so it's an unprecedented move in American pro sports by punishing the very worst teams in the draft lottery, creating a new system to incentivize winning. After months of meetings and conversations among league ownership and team stakeholders, radical response from the NBA to radical behavior, with nearly 8 to 10 teams jockeying for lottery odds down the stretch of the season. It's called the 3-2-1 lottery process, and it starts next year and goes through at least 2029 to see if that changes the way NBA teams operate. He also says it's the name represents the number of lottery balls per team. Teams with a bottom 3 record, the relegation area, have only 2 lottery balls. Teams that do not qualify for the playoffs or play in tournament in spots 4 through 10 receive 3 lottery balls each. The number 9 and 10 play-in seeds in each conference. So whoever, in the play-in tournament, and losers of the 7-8 playing games receive 1 lottery ball each. All 16 teams will be in the drawing. No one will be able to win the number 1 in consecutive years or be able to win 3 consecutive top 5 picks.
Jeez.
So teams 4 to 10 in the draft lottery, like in the draft order, because if you do it the NFL wise, like the worst record to wherever, that 4 through 10 spot that would be in the NFL draft, they get 3 lottery balls each. The ones that are bottom 3 only get 2. So you've taken one of those chances away, and then the people that, the teams that lose out, the 2 teams that lose out in the play-in tournament, both conferences, each get 1. I believe is how I read it. So thoughts? It's a lot. It's a lot of information. I think I understand it, but woo!
So dumb. Oh my gosh, it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. I don't know. I personally don't mind tanking. I implement that strategy in fantasy football quite a bit. Yeah, this is a little different. I'm sure when you have sports betting involved and this and that, and the inconsistencies or the questions of what stars are going to play, regardless of if they're on a good team or medium or bad team. Obviously you want to get the best product out there and this and that, and it's going to incentivize teams to play and compete. But I don't know. Sometimes, what happens if your team just sucks, man? Like you're just kind of screwed. I don't know. I'm telling you, I hope the Browns or the NFL never does this, because then the Browns are going to always be picking 15. So, and not because they're good.
I would have probably felt the same way you did if somehow like those bottom 3 teams record wise were the ones that only got the 1.
Sure.
Like if they were the 1, the 9, like the playing losers got 2, and the 4 through 10 got 3. I think that they're still giving them, at least out of this, like the second best odds per se, with 2 to the 3 of the 4 through 10, because they know like some teams are going to suck, and there's just like no way for them to like, I saw teams under JB Bickerstaff and even before that, like they'd scrap and claw and they give all the effort, but like talent just won out at the end, and like they couldn't win enough basketball games. Like I understand that, but I don't know if this is going to work. I'm very interested to watch and see how this works. But I kind of like it, man. I don't know. Like so there is like tanking, like where it's not very visible.
Sure.
And I think you see a little bit more in the NFL, because like you're like this is the most physical sport out there, and like it's very hard to like lay off, and like you can't necessarily, like there's very strict rules about if a guy is out, like how he has to be listed on the injury report and stuff. Like guys in the NBA are able to be listed for rest, but it was legitimate. Like I think it was the Utah Jazz where they would have like I think even against the Cavs, they would have like a double-digit lead. Take the main guys that were still playing, like a couple of their main guys, they were sat down and they weren't even playing. Then they brought out like the starters are actually playing well to put in like the lowest of the low talent level, just so that teams like the Cavs could come back on them and end up winning those games. Like it's much more visible, obvious in the NBA. Something needed to happen.
I don't know. I love that. I think that I think the end goal, end game, I don't know. I feel like it's just going to promote mediocrity. Mediocrity is the word I think it is. Yeah, nobody's going to want to be that bottom team, but I feel like it's going to separate the actual bad teams eventually from just teams who are mediocre. And if you're mediocre, hey, just win a couple games here and there, it doesn't matter, and then you have a better chance. I don't know. I just feel like it's going to bite them in the butt. Yeah. I can see that, trying to eliminate tanking from the game to just make it a more ethical product. And like I said, you have to appease your sponsors, especially those who are the betting sponsors for sure. But nonetheless, I don't know. I feel like they are just overcomplicating things. Especially, I saw that Adam Silver he came out, I don't know, today or yesterday, and said that they are going to start implementing AI now for all calls. So instead of like, doing the
thing,
for all review calls. So it's going to be instantaneous and just like play on. I think that might be in the right direction for basketball, just because it takes so long for reviews and this, it's constant. But I don't know.
I think we're diving first too much into AI too quickly. Like to do it for every single thing.
Sure.
I feel like you should have like eased that in a little bit more. I think with this anti-tanking thing, the reason why I do like it is because it is a draft lottery and there's still chances for those bottom 3 teams. Because like even today, like there's chances, like if you have a bottom 3 record, like you could still like be like 4 or 5 and like you tank for nothing. So like there's still a chance for them to still be in those top spots. And most years where there's drafts, not like this year where it's not very deep at the top in the NBA drafts, like, I do like this just because it is a lottery and it's not like it's already determined once the season ends and your record puts you in a spot like the NFL does. So we'll see. This is the American version of relegation. I would use a different term for it because it's not actually relegation. The way relegation is, it's a much steeper penalty in the sport of soccer, but this is a pretty steep thing and pretty unprecedented, the word that Shams Sarani used from ESPN senior NBA insider. Before we touch on the guards and close this show out, a couple more partners. We got to touch on W Energy and the great folks over at Moser Moments Photography.
Clean energy, bold flavors, and no jitters. See why people won't shut up about Dubby. clean energy, no jitters or crash. Whether you're starting your workday or getting ready to exercise, W Energy helps you lock in and focus. With over 15 flavors to choose from, you can't miss. Order W Energy right now by using the QR code on your screen and use the promo code InsideEdge10 to receive 10% off your order. W Energy, your energy-focused sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader. Mosser Moments Photography is a husband and wife wedding photography team based in Cleveland, owned and operated by Inside Edge Network's very own Ryan Mosser and his wife, Hallie. For the past 10 years, they've captured more than 100 weddings across Northeast Ohio and beyond, always working together as a true two-person team. Their style centers on authentic, emotional storytelling, documenting the real moments between two people in love and creating images that feel natural, comfortable, and true to the couple. Rooted in Northern Ohio but inspired by their travels, Ryan and Hallie bring a warm, personal approach to every wedding day. Their work blends experience, consistency, and a genuine passion for helping couples relive their best day through timeless photography. Learn more at MosserMomentsPhotography.com by using the QR code on your screen right now. MosserMomentsPhotography.com, a proud sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader.
Just a few more moments left in today's show here on the Voice Line, the Inside Edge Network. Plus, we got to get Ryan. We probably got to get you out of here for your
We're good
show.
today. David's on vacation.
All right. Well, then we'll take you up until 7:00 tonight. Do want to talk about the Guardians? Got to thank all of our partners, but just a couple. As I went into Twitter to try to see if we were getting any responses or whatever, pulled my timeline back up. A couple tweets I just wanted to make people aware of. These were a few hours ago, but so people may have seen these. But if you haven't, Yahoo Sports, their verified account. Tom Haberstra, who's covered the NBA for a long time, big time NBA insider. There's a video there on Yahoo Sports' account, where he says it is possible for the Cavs to end up with not just LeBron but Giannis Antetokounmpo in a trade for Evan Mobley. So people are saying that it's possible. Again, don't get your hopes up because
my hopes are up.
It takes two to tango. But though I think that represents what fans want to see, this team still going for it.
Yeah.
Whether it's those names or not, if you're able to find something that surprises everybody, but it's still high level, trying to take it to the ultimate mountaintop. That is what fans want to see. The last one is if you thought grades, Cardell Jones didn't go to play school at the Ohio State University. If you thought grades didn't matter, it matters to Ryan Day for his money. According to Polymarket Sports on X, Ohio State head coach Ryan Day earned $100,000 bonus after his players delivered a cumulative team GPA of 3.4 this past year.
Holy moly, that's crazy.
Total compensation for this season has reached $13 million.
The whole team average 3.4 is insane, honestly.
Yeah, it is.
That's really cool. Good for the Buckeyes.
Cardell Jones said out loud what a lot of these, especially now that they're getting the money, what these student athletes are thinking. Want to close things out, though. Guardians do salvage one game against the Nationals. Oh, boy, do they have their hitting shoes on against Tanner and Joey Cantil, and both of those guys not really able to go through. People were talking, they were saying I haven't even gotten it verified or any reason why people thought this, but I think it was just because of how easily the Nationals were hitting Tanner Bybee, that he was tipping his pitches. Maybe he has maybe it just has a tell just naturally the way he stands and analytics. If you want to see a sport that uses analytics and research and breaking down everything piece by piece and film, teams have a lot of information on you in the game of baseball. But I don't know. Tanner's 0-7 on the season, but he has gotten no run support. The only other game where he gave up a lot of runs was to the same NL East division against the Braves. And the Braves do that to a lot of people. So I'm not fully concerned about Tanner. Stephen Kwan still feels like he's finding something, but it's a very slow burn now that he's been moved down the lineup. Jose, boy, oh boy, like he was kind of a rally killer in this past series, but we know he'll probably break out of it. I'm just still. I think the best story to talk about is the two are Stephen Vogt was the right guy to move on. Like it's very hard to be the guy after the guy.
Right.
The guy was Terry Francona. Stephen Vogt has done a tremendous job at that and put his stake on this team. And the two young guys,
yeah,
boy, are they
amazing.
Legit.
Amazing, yeah. I know, but I mean, I don't think anyone expected this out of Travis Bazzana. This early, to show up immediately and look like he's been in the league for 5 years is insane, but, he's hitting over 300. He's getting on base like, an elite player and doing it while, leading off games like he's born to, hit in the one spot for the Guardians. I love that he's in the one spot too, What blows me away, I think, is how calm he looks as well. Most rookies look like they're trying to survive out there. Travis Bazzana looks like he's trying to win every pitch. He's homer. He's already homered. He's already delivered big swings late in games. He's already showing up like he's not afraid of the moment, and I think that's rare for a rookie. I think the guy's special, and that's exactly the kind of presence I think that this lineup has been missing at the top. We need some pop in the outfield. We need some pop in this team, man. And leadoff hitter. I mean, Quan was great. But we were missing something when he's been struggling. And when your leadoff hitter is setting the tone every single night, everything else falls into place. And right now, I think Travis Bazzana is doing that better than anyone on the roster. And then you talk about Chase DeLauder. I mean, he's the other guy who looks like he's finally setting into what he's supposed to be. He's driving the ball with authority. He's producing runs in big spots. He's giving this lineup a left-handed threat that pitchers actually have to respect. What I love most about him, I think, is he's not junk hitting for power, which a lot of people are worried about. He's hitting with purpose. He's taking walks. He's moving runners. He's not chasing junk. He's playing like
strikeouts. Either him or Bazzana or both of them. I think he had like more walks than strikeouts.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah. He's playing like somebody who I think understands his role and embraces it. And when you combine him with Bazzana at the top, suddenly the Guardians have a young core that feels incredibly real, man. This is fun. This was unexpected, and hopefully it continues, man. Holy moly.
So where like it really set in for me about these guys was yesterday, and I was covering the game, and they brought them up as like a joint post-game presser. Like they're next to each other. We've been talking about these guys for a couple years now. DeLauder for a long time, last couple years with Bazzana. And they're sitting right next to each other in the bowels of Progressive Field after winning a game and having a big impact on that. And these guys are talking like veterans. I really loved, DeLauder. I may have asked the question. I don't know. Like if I did, I did. But like someone had talked to him earlier about how like he'd been hitting the ball in the nose the last few games, but he wasn't getting the results. And like how, he just kind of mentioned it in passing. And I just kind of, I kind of thought about it. I was like, I want to know, like, how does a young guy get through that? Like, and make it look so easy, like a veteran to get through those struggles that we all know every baseball player is going to go through. Like, it's a game of failure, right?
Right.
A game of failure. The best people have only hit 35% of the time.
Right.
We had a 400 hitter at one point, but like very often that doesn't happen. And like the leaders in batting average are like at 314. That's 31%. If you shoot that from the field in basketball or complete 31% of your passes in football, you don't even make it to college, let alone the professional ranks. But like, just like his calm demeanor and like saying like, boy, someone's lying to you if they say it's not frustrating to go through something like that, and it sucks. But you just, as cliche as it sounds, I have to stick to my process. But like, process is a trigger word here in Cleveland and in sports in general. But the word, like where it shouldn't be a trigger is in the game of baseball, because like that mental process and that approach to the plate, like that process, that matters. And these guys have it as if they've been doing it at this level for so many years, like you said. And they're just in their first season at this level. Like it's
crazy.
It's cool. There's going to be struggles. We know
Sure.
that. There can be ebbs and flows, all of that. But I can say it right now, like, I think these guys are legit. And I love that. I love that for this team. I love that for this city.
God, I hope so, man. It'd be so refreshing just to have not only one hit on a rookie, but two, and guys who are just smacking the heck out of that ball, man. And we've needed power hitters. We need guys to get on base for the last several years. We needed help for Jose, help for Quan was the help for Jose, but now it's looking like, I mean, don't forget about Rocchio. If you told me before the season about Brian Rocchio, he would be one of the most consistent hitters on the team, I would have laughed, but here we are, and he's hitting close to 300, and he's getting on base, he's driving in runs, and he's doing it all while playing a premium defensive position. Multi-hit games he's had clutch moments, and he's looked like the guy who belongs in the everyday lineup. Every year this one player forces his way in the conversation, and who's already been on the team, and I think he might be the guy this year. It's crazy. Yeah. So it's just, I mean, we're top of the AL Central, and it's just, we're full of a bunch of young guys and Jose Ramirez, and it's young guys who are hitting too. So what is happening? So I don't know.
And it seems something small, but tip your cap to Vogt, because a lot of times when the guys that yes, sometimes like you try to position someone that has speed at the bottom of the lineup, like at number 9, so that they get on base, then but it's someone that struggles, but if they get on base, that could turn the lineup over to the guys that you want up there and drive in runs like that. I give Vogt a lot of credit for not moving him up, because a lot of times if a 9 hitter is hitting pretty well, managers will move them up to try to get that run support earlier in their lineup. Keeping him down there is perfect. It's not a punishment. It is just, it's not broke. Don't fix it right now. We don't need to do that. And the brilliant part about this team is, even as great as they've started this season and done what they needed to do, I can't say that they've played their best baseball yet. There's still inconsistencies, and not having your big boys hitting in Quan, Ramirez, and even Manzardo to a certain extent, not hitting consistently. There's still more you can get out of this team, and that is what is so exciting about this summer.
Yeah. I mean, and not to mention Gavin Williams, Parker Messick. I mean, those guys are, the I don't know. I want to say the twin towers of this rotation, but that doesn't make sense. Just two staples of the rotation. And you mentioned real quick about Tanner Bybee. I think the struggle is real, but I think it's fixable with him. He's obviously had a rough go, but the ERA is higher than expected. The losses are piling up. Like you said, he's 0-7, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and he hasn't looked like the guy that we saw last year. But the thing is, I think he's still missing bats. He's still striking out hitters, still showing flashes of the pitcher that he can be. I feel like it. I don't know. It feels like he's fighting his command and rhythm more than a guy who's just lost out there. And I think with the rotation performing this well around him, specifically, Williams and Messick, I mean, I think that's nice for him because he has time to figure it out. I'm not worried, at least yet, with him. So.
And I think that's what is good for Quan too, is that Pizana taking to that number 1 spot gives him a little bit more time where they don't have to force him back up to leadoff spot. Will they give it to him if he does break out? If Quan breaks out, I don't know. I feel like Vogt is going to show that if something's working, like we're just going to stick with it. But I will mention this about Bybee, and I don't want you or anybody to take this as an excuse. We'll close out on this. I know we're running a little bit over, and I apologize, Double A. But with Tanner Bybee and not getting the run support, yes, there's adjustments he has to make, and he's shown he can make in-season adjustments. Vogt mentioned that Gavin's taking that next step because he's not making in-season adjustments. He's making in-game adjustments to how hitters are approaching him. And I think that's where Tanner's trying to get to, but he's also fighting this thing of, and I think this is very real. People can debate me if they want. It's totally fine. If you don't agree, totally fine. But I'm not getting run support. I have to go out there and I'm not going to show any disdain towards my teammates or anything like that. But inwardly, just like Chase said, it's if anybody's telling you it's not frustrating to hit the ball on the screws and you're still not getting results, I'm pitching pretty well. I'm not getting the results. I look like I'm terrible pitcher because I'm 0-7. I got to go out there and be perfect every single batter, every single pitch, every single inning. That's a mental hurdle he's going to need to figure out as well. I think that's a real thing. Is you focus on that instead of just being the attack strong, ace-level pitcher that we know he can be and has shown us he can be. I think one side of his mental thing is taking over, who he is. Again, it's not an excuse. There are criticisms to him, but I just feel like that's part of it.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like it's up to, the offense to rally around him a little bit. Get him some guys on base, give him a little bit of insurance. I think that's what he needs. Give him 1 or 2 outings where he gets his confidence back, and then he can start building on that. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
And like I said, him coming into the season as our ace and it hasn't worked out, it's okay because we have a young guy in Parker Messick, and Gavin Williams is showing that he, how many 10 strikeout games does he have so far this year? It's insane. So I mean, he's got time to figure it out, and it just is. I mean, like you said, Jose, Quan, these guys aren't in their normal form right now. They're struggling, but the young guys are carrying them. And that's all across the board. Once these guys start lighting it up, where can this team go? It could be, could be pretty crazy. So I mean, it's exciting. I'm not worried. Like I said, I'm not worried yet, at least. So
no, like you can't assume that you're just automatically going to get to that, get back to your form and numbers will play out. You got to work for it. But I want that. I want the good Tanner Bobby, the great Tanner Bobby. I want the great Jose Ramirez, Stephen Kwan. I want that in August and September when you're trying to finish that stretch and start playing your best baseball. And let's have a year. If we're a long way away from it, but if you do make the playoffs in the game of baseball, if you go in hot, you have an even better chance. You get in the dance, you got a chance anyways. But you go in playing hot, we've seen how that can carry teams in the Major League Baseball playoffs and how fun that can be. So just daily grind, guys. It's going to be a long season, but enjoy every step of it, and we enjoy everyone tuning in with us. So we enjoy doing the show for you. For Ryan Mosser, I'm Kevin Arnold. This has been the Voice of the Land, the Inside Edge Network, brought to you by the great people at Green Sports Cards, but also W Energy, Fanatics, Ellie Rose Fragrances, and Mosser Moments Photography. Thank you so much for tuning in. As a reminder, we truly love don't let anyone tell you. I'm gonna tell you it's just a game. We truly love you all 3,000. Don't talk about it. Be about it.
Commissioner's Couch is going to be off the next 2 weeks. David's on vacation. We will be live next week on the Voice of the Land at 6 o'clock on Thursday. Check us out then.
And I promise you, World Cup, Browns, Buckeye Talk coming next week as we get into the summer where not as much is happening. But there's still a lot of sports that are scheduled here in 2026. Live life, all gas, no breaks. We'll see you next time right here. Voice of the Land.